We are the music makers, and we are the dreamers of dreams. Come along, come on.
It's alive.
Okay. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and all that jazz. Good evening, folks. Welcome to the Omega Files. We all decided to sit down this weekend because we had a rather sad thing happen this week. That's the passing of a very, well, the only word I can find to describe him is legendary actor Gene Wilder. And we all decided to sit down and just have a little chat about, his life, his films, and especially those moments that, he brought on that are going to probably echo on throughout the rest of the time. Because this is a man who, oh, sheesh. I can't even find the words. It just really knocked the wind out of me when I heard that he had passed. But okay, I'm going to pass it on. We're just going to, save a little time. I'm just going to say, look, give yourself a quick hi there, and then go ahead and go into your, your thoughts and feelings about this. All right, let's start with AJ. Go on ahead.
Hey guys, from Down Under. How are you? Oh, sorry, you can go. Oh, yeah. Yeah, it was quite upsetting to hear that Gene Wilder died. Quite surprising too. His movies were brilliant. Loved him in Charlie and the Chocolate Factory and Hear No Evil, See No Evil, like two that come to mind. Him and Richard Pryor were awesome double acts throughout the years. So I thought it was quite sad. Done.
Okay, short but sweet. You go ahead, William.
I was shocked to hear that now that he passed away, that why he passed away from, because he never mentioned it to no news about his illness like that. Yeah, a lot of us do remember him because of Blazing Saddles and Young Frankenstein and other comedic works, including the 4 he did with Richard Pryor. But the one thing I remember him mostly was even though it was only for a little while, his marriage to Gilda Radner. And after she passed away, he formed an organization to deal with women with ovarian cancer like that in Gilda's house. And so I was really touched at how much he really did love her. He really did love her because, in Hollywood, a lot of marriages don't last that long. And then when they break up, it's very bitter. And so it was sad about that. But the funny thing is, going back to his movie history, you find out that he did so many comedy that you forgot about. Like the producers, I forgot about that he did that. And of course, he had a little the Little Prince that he had a role in that one, and something called The Frisco Kid, and of course the one he did I think in the 80s called The Woman in Red. But those I remember. I just rewatched it after he passed away. I watched a couple of them. Some of them I haven't got yet. It's weird because he's a comedian. He don't consider himself a comedian. He just considers himself an actor. Now, if the role he did was comedic, then that was a plus for him because he loved to make people. He loved to make people laugh. So that was a good thing about him. It's sad to hear he passed away and then this year, so many people that either we grew up listening in music or watching in TV or movie has been passing away this year. And like I said in the beginning, his passing was a total shock because I never knew that he was ill at all. I just thought he just retired and was writing books that he's been doing for at least 10 years already.
Yeah. Okay, Graham, you go on ahead.
Yeah. Well, let me echo some of Will's points. Very, very accomplished actor. Back in the 80s, all you got on reruns a lot over here on TV was a lot of his comedies, more especially his stuff with Richard Pryor. His stuff with the charitable foundations has been touched upon, and obviously later on in life he's getting into book writing. Various movies spring to mind, Will mentioned The Woman in Red, one of the first appearances on screen of obviously Kelly LaRock, and that got her on the map. He gave her a little rub there, and that started somewhat her career in the early to mid 80s. Stir Crazy is one of the best ones, obviously, with him and Richard Pryor. Blazing Saddles, that's just absolute classic, even though probably couldn't be done today due to certain PC elements of that movie, but that's still an absolute classic movie, and it's a Mel Brooks masterclass. And, like you say, legend, and it's unfortunate that he's obviously passed away due to effects with Alzheimer's, and it's a case of a treasure lost, and his works are timeless and will always be remembered, I guess. So I'll get to them later, but that's all I've got to know.
Okay, you go on, Beef, your turn.
It's very weird and was very much out of the blue. After we had recorded the Amiga files last week, we were banding about ideas of what we could do, and ironically, the subject of doing the Gene Wilder, Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, and the Johnny Depp one, and then we sort of spiraled off and said, "Oh, we should do the Richard Pryor and Gene Wilder movies." It's like it's very very shocking, to be honest with you, because like Will said, none of us knew of his illness, and it tends to be, I think, I'm not actually sure what day he actually died. There tends to be a thing that's happening at the moment, which is understandable for the families, that they keep a lot of this stuff quiet and they release a statement after the event, which is quite good in that respect. Go on, Greg.
They done that way, obviously, with Christopher Lee, but I think it was basically the day that's been reported with regard to Gene Wilder.
But yeah, none of us knew about the illness, and that part was due to his own wish, which I find extremely touching. Is that there was such a connection between the role that he did as Willy Wonka that, and it identifies with kids, old and young. I think my kids have watched it and they love that movie. It does have a timeless feel to it. It does have something magical to it that any kid who saw him and would engage with him, that there wasn't that negative aspect of that aspect of pity. It kept the magic alive for the kid, and that in itself is tremendous. I mean, my upbringing was unusual. My first I think thing that I saw Gene Wilder in was Young Frankenstein. I think after that, then it was Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. Then after that, it was, I think, The Producers, then Blazing Saddles. Now, I'm not going to say, I'm crying my eyes out and everything like that. It's very, very sad. And I'm not going to do the ridiculous internet thing of, crying and everything like that. It's not like that. But it is, it formed, his movies were, key points or keystones in my life, and for people like us who like, as it's been dubbed now, geek culture, or cult movements and everything like that, he played a part in so many of those, and I think you tend to forget it because it tends to be referential, and although he wasn't always in big blockbuster movies that you've had in recent years, he was always, you'd always hark back to it. I went back and I rewatched some films. He was mostly famous for his collaborations with Mel Brooks, who had The Blazing Saddles, Young Frankenstein, but he also wrote and directed his own movies, which is what I went back and watched today. Sherlock Holmes's smarter brother, Haunted Honeymoon. They're not necessarily the best movies, but they're funny. And the thing that I do like about Gene Wilder, I think the thing I got after watching these movies as well is, and what made him so good, is that he would flip between being the straight man and the comedy man effortlessly. If you surround yourself by funny people, you wonder how much of it is ad-lib, to be honest with you, because there is such clever comedy, from the sarcastic to the slapstick, and I think people would queue around the block to just even just have cameos in movies with him, because there was just that endearing quality. You never hated him as a character, whether he was playing a unpleasant character or anything like that. There was always an endearing quality to him. And yeah, that's what's missed now, is a all-round comedy actor who can do both sides of that coin.
Yeah, well, yeah, what can you say? Life, well lived. Yeah, a lot of people didn't realize towards the end of his life he wrote like 4 novels. Brilliant writer. If I remember right, yeah, he wrote Young Frankenstein. Yeah, with help from Mel Brooks. It was his suggestion to put Marty Feldman into the movie, which turned out to be absolutely timeless casting. Couldn't find anybody perfect, more perfect to play Igor. Oh God, I said more perfect. Am I nuts? But oh heck, I was just watching Blazing Saddles again today. Just to get myself psyched up a bit, and but it's kind of weird for me because I think the first time I ever saw Gene Wilder on film, I believe it was Silver Streak. But you see, I grew up in one of those families where, this is back in the days when you didn't have Netflix, you didn't have the internet, you had the video rental store. And I was not allowed to watch movies with dirty words like that. So the first time, yeah, that was in one of those families. So the first time I actually got to watch like Silver Streak and all that was on like the Friday night movie when it finally made its way there. But even then, even with the language going, just the way he portrayed his characters and the way, he interacted with the others, it was just so damn funny that when a couple years later down the road, when I finally got to see movies like Blazing Saddles and all that, because I got a card and Mom and Dad didn't know about it, I'd sneak up to the video store and start watching those movies I wasn't allowed to watch. And oh heck, plus, we don't want to forget that he was married again after Gilda Radner. Gilda Radner was his third wife. He was married again for a 4th time to a lady named Karen Boyer. They were married for 25 years. She seems to have gotten a little bit lost by the wayside in some of the internet hype, because it was tragic. As I remember when Gilda Radner died, it was all over the news. And, it was a blow to me as well because, she was just so damn funny, so damn real. And, matter of fact, I think she was probably the first comedian I actually heard swear, because my brother let me listen to one of those records I wasn't allowed to listen to, when my dad was gone. So, what can you say? The guy, was a risk taker. He was, life well lived, 83 years old. That's not bad innings. Definitely is never going to be forgotten. Like I said, Young Frankenstein is going to probably be the one that sticks out in my head the most because, oh, man, I could just pop that one in or, oh, heck. I think his version of Willy Wonka is going to be the timeless one. I think it's even going to outlast Johnny Depp's. And I was really impressed by the remake. I really was. But that original one just had its own magic to it that, he brought to the role. It seems like no matter what role I saw him in, or no matter what role he was playing, there was always seemed to be like this childlike wonder in his eyes that just captures you.
Twinkle. Yep.
Yeah, that little twinkle. Man.
Did Neo get a 2 cents on?
All right. Neo, your turn. Go ahead. Did you go ahead? Because I'm waxing philosophical and I forgot. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. I really, I was just like, listening to all you guys and stuff. See, I think my first time with him was basically Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, of course. And I loved it. And I kept playing it over and over and over and over again until, VHS tape. But teaming up with Richard Pryor, oh man, you couldn't stop laughing. It was just so good. You can't find comedy like that anymore. It's sad. There was another Leslie Nielsen. Remember him? Naked Gun.
Yeah,
he passed away, and that hurt me a lot because I loved it. And the Naked Gun series and stuff like that. It's the good ones are just starting to go. It's not fair, but hey, they're up there making everybody laugh up there. What you gonna do?
Yes, and I was just thinking, that's something I wanted to say. You just reminded me with Up There because, there was Martin and Lawrence, there was Laurel and Hardy, there was Abbott and Costello, and there's always going to be Pryor and Wilder.
And it's a pairing that you wouldn't imagine because, if you think about how the comedy of Richard Pryor was and everything like that, it was a mismatch. But I don't know where, behind the scenes what their relationship was, but on the screen it was magic, to be honest with you. They were great how they sort of underplayed each other. The movie that I had just finished watching, by no means was it the greatest movie, and it's called Another You, and it's the last movie I believe Graham was saying that Richard Pryor did, and you can see his illness is really affecting him and everything like that. And I think to a certain degree they just let him ride and do what he wants, because he's thrown in a lot of curse words which you can't necessarily use on YouTube anymore. But it's good, to be honest with you. You can see that there is a on-screen magic that still works between the pair of them, to be honest with you. You still have that wide-eyed wonder. I do think, looking at the movies, and if you like compare how Gene Wilder was before Gilda Radner died, and like especially I went from watching Haunted Honeymoon, which they're both in together. Yeah. There is. I've never seen him, I think, as much alive on screen as I have in that, because you get a magic between the pair of them on that.
Is that not the movie they actually shot, and instead of going on an actual honeymoon?
I believe so.
Yeah.
Oh, what can you say? It's just sad, though. We're living in an age now where you get to, you're seeing all these people you grew up with starting to pass away. It just really sucks. You always think of them as being immortal. You always thinking, that this is never going to happen. But unfortunately, time moves on, and our heroes start to pass away, and there's nothing we can do about it.
But you got to give him props. I think he was nominated twice for an Academy Award. He didn't win it, but he was twice for the producers, and I think for Young Frankenstein.
The fact that the Academy even give you the time of day, I suppose, shows something,
Matter of fact, they said I read a little bit ago. His last contribution acting was back in like 2003. He did a guest role on Will and Grace and won an Emmy Award.
Yeah,
there you go.
For outstanding guest actor. And that was his last role, pretty much, ever, before he went into semi-retirement. But what can you say? Hats off to you, Gene, wherever you are. You're back together with Rich. You're back together with Gilda and all the gang,
and the rest of the gang.
And like I said, our condolences go out to his family and his current wife Karen. And like I said, it just really sucks, man. It does.
Mm-hmm.
It is, because like I said, you can think, if you think of a Gene Wilder movie, guaranteed someone that you'll be with can throw out a quote from that movie, and that's the product of how engaging an actor he was, and how classic, and how the impact that they have on the zeitgeist, pop culture, whatever you want to call it. And that's something that you don't get as much these days, to be honest with you, and that's what makes him truly a classic.
I always view Gene Wilder like this. He might not necessarily be in one of the greatest movies ever, but any movie he's in, he makes it just that wee bit better. So,
yeah. And anyone who can go, and he does in Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. Some people can pillory it and everything like that, but he's really good in that, because the thing is, he goes from whimsy, dandy clown to quite menacing and scary when they're on the boat. And that is, if you watch, I watched that back about a couple of years ago, and listen to all the things that he's saying and everything like that. He gets really dark in that, and they're thinking, it gets forgotten about because it's just a kids movie, but it is. He's really, really good in that, and that is the hallmark of a good actor, and he does. He can go from 0 to 100 and flip and turn 100 times in a scene, and you don't notice it. But it's a true masterclass in being funny without having to pretend or like overhype it. To be honest with you, it's just ease, and that's true class in my book. That really is true class.
Well, so I hate to leave you all on a somber note, but let's kind of leave you a little something that'll definitely stand the test of time. If I can hit the right button.
Here we go.
We are the music makers, and we are the dreamers of dreams.
So, good night, folks.
Wise words.
Good day, sir.